week, here's what you missed.
Thanks, Maureen. Basically, you missed the Three-Fifths Compromise, also Clay's Missouri Compromise of 1820, and you can't forget the South Carolina Tariff. Some other underlying causes were states' rights, bleeding Kansas, Lecompton, the Dred Scott case, Missouri Compromise, the Compromise of 1850, Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, Sumner, John Brown's raids, and the Lincoln-Douglas debates. If you can't remember what any of those events were, feel free to go online and look them up on Wiki with the code word of the day, Touche the Rocks, or look them up in your notes and books. Now for our So True, So False segment, Civil War edition. We go back to sunny California.
Thanks, Cole. Did the North really put a blockade from Virginia to Texas in order to cut off the South from supplies and prevent the Confederacy from exporting cotton and tobacco?
She's got to be stopped. This has gone too far.
Well, this is so true. And the Confederate ship, Merrimac, attempted to break the blockade, but was prevented from doing so by the Union ship, the Monitor. Here's another one for you. Is there any truth to the capture of Vicksburg by General Grant? The answer is yes. Grant captured Vicksburg in 1863, cutting off the West from the rest of the Confederacy, since New Orleans had been captured by the Union in 1862. Was the turning point of the Civil War really the Emancipation Proclamation? This is so false. In fact, the turning point was the Battle of Gettysburg, in which the Union forces were out to steal the Confederate shoes. Right, shoes. After defeating the invading armies, Robert E. Lee invaded the North and was himself defeated at Gettysburg. However, the Emancipation Proclamation took place before the Battle of Gettysburg, in which Lincoln's famous proclamation freed all the slaves residing in the states that had rebelled against the Union. This proclamation was, quote, a military move to win the war.
A lot. Now you have to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Do ya? Punks?
Did General Sherman capture Atlanta while destroying everything in his path that might destroy the enemy? This is so unbelievably true. This action, plus the capture of Vicksburg, cut the South into 3 sections.
And lastly, did Lee really surrender at Appomattox? This is so true.
Now that's the same as stealing.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dickey. It'll never happen again.
Lee surrendered after steadily losing ground and finding himself unable to lift the siege of Petersburg, and Petersburg fell to Grant on April 2nd. Lee then abandoned Richmond and fled west, only to surrender a week later on April 9th.
This essentially ended the war, although some fighting continued on until the end of May.
Duh. Winning.
And for our weekly result breakdown, we go back to Cole in our newsrooms, from where the turning point of the Civil War took place, Gettysburg.
Okay. Thanks, Maureen. All right, 20 seconds on the clock. Northern business and industry grew and prospered and replaced Southern agriculture. The Homestead Act of 1862, the Pacific Railroad Acts, both in 1862 and 1864, the federal government was more powerful than ever, and the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were added to the Constitution. Wartime rights of civilians and slavery is gone forever.
And now for our clip of the war.
Okay, for our clip of the war, effects of the war where the Republic were in the dominance. Also, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were added to the Constitution and allowed for the abolition of slavery. African Americans were citizens of the United States. And lastly, it stated that no state could deny the right to vote. Reconstruction was the last effect in which Lincoln had 3 issues. Issue 1 was readmission of the rebel states to the Union. Issue 2 was the guarantee of the civil rights to the African Americans. And the last issue was the government of the rebel states.
Well, that's all for our show today, folks. Catch us next time when we discuss the juicy gossip about how many students will pass the AP test after watching this review.
Great story. Compelling and rich. Well,
That's going to do it for all of us here at Channel 4 News. You stay classy, San Diego. I'm Ron Burgundy.